Are the George Floyd protests creating change? In this video, I want to give you some concrete examples of what is changing and link them directly to 6 specific steps you can take to help fight against police brutality and against racism. Hola mi gente, I am Silvia Salazar, founder of Tono Latino. If you want to learn about politics without it getting too complicated, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell so you get notified every week when I upload a new video. Black lives matter, period. And there are several things you can do to help fight racism and create change. That's why I'm going to give you 6 actionable steps you can take and link them to specific changes we're already seeing. But I want to be absolutely clear. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. So the victories that we can claim so far are not the end all in our fight against racism. No, this is just motivation to keep us moving forward. If you want a little bit more context of what is happening, why all of this started, please check out this video that also includes ways we can help stop police brutality. I educate thousands of people about politics because whether you vote or not, you're still saying a lot. And part of those 6 actionable steps obviously includes voting. But before that, let's start with step number 1. Sign petitions. After the killing of George Floyd on May 25th of 2020, Kellen Sims, a 15-year-old girl from Portland, Oregon, created a petition on change.org asking for justice for George Floyd. It is now the most signed petition in this website's history, with nearly 17 million signatures at the moment I am recording this. You can still add your name to this one and many of the other petitions recommended by Black Lives Matter. I have included a link in the description below. For example, a petition to demand justice for Breonna Taylor. She would have been 27 last Friday. She was murdered by police who entered her apartment with a no-knock search warrant while she was sleeping and she hadn't done anything bad. But guess what? The police officers have not even been arrested. What else can you do? Contact your legislators. Let me give you some examples of the things that have worked after people were signing petitions, protesting, and calling their elected officials. All 4 officers involved in the killing of George Floyd have been arrested. The man who put his knee to George Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes has now been charged with 2nd-degree murder, 3rd-degree murder, and manslaughter. The other 3 that stood by and didn't stop former Officer Chauvin from doing this have been charged with aiding and abetting 2nd-degree murder, aiding and abetting manslaughter. In Louisville, there's a proposed legislation called Breonna's Law to try to regulate these no-knock warrants, which is exactly how Breonna Taylor died. It is being evaluated by the Louisville Metro Council after passing unanimously in the Public Safety Committee. In Georgia, a judge ordered that the 3 men charged with the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, a Black man who was just jogging down the street and was gunned down by 3 white men, this case can now go to trial. Several cities are making changes in their police departments. For example, last week in Minneapolis, they announced that they're going to ban chokeholds and any other neck restraints and require that officers intervene and stop other officers from using improper force. In Denver, Colorado, a federal judge temporarily banned the use of chemical weapons like tear gas and pepper spray or projectiles like rubber bullets against protesters and peaceful demonstrators. Seattle mayor banned the use of tear gas against protesters for the next 30 days. Back to Minneapolis. A veto-proof majority, 9 out of 12 Minneapolis City Council members announced they're going to disband the police department in favor of a community public safety model. So we're going to have to keep an eye out on what they come up with. And in New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio has been under a lot of criticism for the way he's been handling the protests, and many, many, many documented examples of police brutality against peaceful protesters who are protesting against police brutality. So he announced he's going to cut the New York Police Department's annual budget. We just don't know about how much. The annual budget for the New York Police Department is $6 billion with a B. Donate. I have a list of organizations that you can donate money to in the link in the description below, even ways that you can donate without money. But let's talk about what actually has happened. The GoFundMe page that was created for George Floyd and his family had a goal of $1.5 million. Now it is the GoFundMe page that has received the most individual donations in history. But individuals are not the only ones donating their money. We've seen announcements from hundreds of brands worldwide, some of them with really on point and messages with key actionable steps. For example, Lego. They use their social media channels to show their solidarity with the Black community on their fight against racism and recognize that there's a lot we still need to do. They also pledged to donate $4 million to organizations working with Black children, organizations educating children of all races about racial equality. And also, they stopped all their digital content and social media posts that were promoting sets or toy sets that included police characters. If you want to see a presentation that includes over 100 brand responses to these protests, check the link in the description. Comment below and tell me at least one positive thing you have seen because of these George Floyd protests happening worldwide to fight against racism. I would love to share them with my audience to keep the momentum going. Another thing most of us can do is learn. There are a ton of resources coming up every single day to help us be better at fighting racism and becoming anti-racists. So I wanted to highlight a really moving story that I read. A Black female flight attendant from Southwest Airlines noticed that a white male passenger was reading the book that I recommended to you guys, White Fragility. When she got a break, she decided to sit next to him and have a conversation about it very openly. She cried, they chatted. It was very moving. Turns out this man is the CEO of American Airlines. I encourage you to read the story because it is really, really, really moving. And also because the link includes more resources that any of us can use in forms of movies, podcasts, book, articles, etc. Protests. Millions of people are protesting against racism, not only in the United States, but all over the world. And I've already told you how these protests, in addition to signing petition, calling elected officials, donating, learning, it is all creating pressure to change the way we do things and fight racism. This weekend, New York Times opinion editor James Bennett resigned after public outcry for publishing an op-ed full of lies, absolutely full of lies, by Republican Senator Tom Cotton. This op-ed said that the military should be mobilized to subdue protesters, and it was titled, "Send in the Troops." The editor-in-chief of the Philadelphia Inquirer also had to resign after publishing a headline that said, "Buildings matter too." The NFL. Yeah, the same NFL that pretty much exiled Colin Kaepernick for peacefully protesting police brutality by kneeling during the national anthem. Yeah, the NFL commissioner Roger Goodell admitted last week that the league had been wrong, ignoring the protests against police brutality and actually encouraged peaceful protests. Wow. And Republican Senator and former presidential candidate Mitt Romney protested in the streets because Black Lives Matter.
Finding a way to end violence and brutality and to make sure that people understand that Black Lives Matter.
And obviously, this wouldn't be a Tono Latino video if I didn't include this one more thing you can do to keep the momentum going. Vote. And again, I can give you an example of how things are changing. In the middle of this pandemic, in the middle of the protests, voters last week made history in Ferguson, Missouri, because they came out and elected Ella Jones, the first Black mayor and first female mayor. Now, Ferguson is the same city where in 2014, a police officer killed Michael Brown, an unarmed 18-year-old Black teenager. If you want other encouraging examples about the power of voting, please check out this video that I made about the power of the Latino vote that also is going to encourage other people, even if you're not Latino, I promise. And speaking of voting, we're seeing more prominent Republicans coming out against the president and inspiring other people in their party. For example, former Secretary of State during the George W. Bush administration, Colin Powell, said he's voting for Joe Biden. President George W. Bush is not going to vote or support Trump's reelection. Mitt Romney, not only was he protesting, he's also not going to vote for El Presidente. And Cindy McCain, widow of Senator John McCain, is probably going to vote for Joe Biden. She just kind of doesn't know how to publicly say it because one of her sons is thinking about running for office. Even retired military leaders who usually keep their mouths shut about politics are coming out publicly against the president. Former Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis wrote a scathing article against the president last week. Former Chief of Staff and retired military general John Kelly agreed with Jim Mattis. So there you have it. 6 very specific ways you can help fight racism, support the George Floyd protests, and create change. Sign petitions, contact your elected officials, donate, learn, protest, and vote. I've created a website that includes all of the links and resources mentioned in this video. Just check the description. And if you like this video, if this information was useful, please smash the like button so the YouTube algorithm helps me share this information with even more people. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you again next week. Un abrazo. Ciao.